Nutty Putty Cave, located near Utah Lake, was discovered in 1960 by Dale Green and named for its soft, clay-like walls. A hydrothermal cave with tight, winding passages and narrow vertical drops, it became popular among thrill seekers, Boy Scouts, and local adventurers. Despite its popularity, the cave was dangerous. Several people had gotten stuck over the years, requiring complex rescues. In 2006, it was temporarily closed after multiple incidents and later reopened under strict safety rules. By 2009, over 5,000 people a year were still visiting. Though fascinating, the cave's slick, confined spaces posed serious risks, even for experienced cavers. It was only a matter of time before a tragedy would turn it from a challenging adventure site into a permanent tomb. November 24, 2009. The late autumn air had a crispness to it as the sun dipped below the snow-dusted Wasatch Mountains. The day was winding down, but for 26-year-old John Edward Jones, it was just beginning. Thanksgiving was 2 days away, and he was home from Virginia, where he was attending medical school. It had been a long semester, clinical rotations, lectures, relentless pressure. But here, in the dry desert hills of Utah, surrounded by family, things felt grounded again. Familiar. John was tall and lean, with a face that showed both youth and maturity, a man who laughed easily but carried depth in his eyes. He was a husband, a father to a 1-year-old daughter, and his wife Emily was pregnant with their second child. That night, he was craving one last adventure before the holiday. "Let's go caving," Josh, his younger brother, had suggested. It was something they'd done as kids, squeezing through tunnels, getting muddy, exploring the underground like fearless adventurers. Nutty Putty Cave, just west of Utah Lake, had recently reopened after being shut down for safety reasons. They'd heard about the new permit system, the regulations, the warnings. But they had a group, they had experience, and they had nostalgia on their side. So just before 9 p.m., a group of 10 brothers, friends, cousins, gathered at the cave's entrance, flashlights clipped to helmets, hearts pounding with excitement. The narrow hole in the ground didn't look like much, just a crack in the desert, hidden among bushes and boulders. The group descended, their voices echoing down the stone corridors. John crawled on his belly through the Scout Eater passage, then pushed through a section called the Big Slide, a steep 45-degree slope coated in slippery clay. The cave was cold, about 55 degrees, and damp. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. The air was still. They were looking for a passage known as the Birth Canal. A famously narrow chute that opened up at the end and allowed a tight but safe turnaround. It was something of a badge of honor among cavers. John, leading a smaller group of 3, spotted a crevice he believed was the entrance. "I think this is it," he said, angling his body headfirst into the tunnel. But it wasn't. This was an uncharted passage, a fissure about 10 inches wide and 18 inches high, with no room to turn, no margin for error. John slid forward, inch by inch, his arms pressed tightly against his sides. The walls scraped his shoulders. He reached out, expecting open space, but hit solid rock. Dead end. He tried to back up. Nothing. His body was stuck. His chest was compressed against the floor, back arched unnaturally. He was upside down, angled at about 70 degrees, with gravity working against him. Blood rushed to his head. His breathing quickened. "Josh," he called, his voice tight with strain. "I'm stuck. I can't move." Josh scrambled over. One look, and panic bloomed in his chest. John's feet were all he could see, wedged deep in a hole barely wide enough for a child. He tried pulling him. John screamed. "Don't. It hurts. I can't breathe like that." It was 9:45 p.m. when the first call went out to 911. The first wave of rescuers arrived just after 10:30 p.m. The Utah County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team, veteran cave divers, EMTs, they knew Nutty Putty well. They'd trained for this. They'd done it before. But what they saw chilled them. John was trapped 400 feet into the cave, at a bend just beyond a passage called Ed's Push. The tunnel was narrow, twisting, and only accessible by crawling through a series of chokes and squeezes. Getting equipment in would be a challenge. Getting John out seemed impossible. Inside the crevice, John's condition was deteriorating. He was inverted, his head below his heart, for hours, which placed immense strain on his circulatory system. Blood pooled in his brain. His arms were pinned. His lungs were compressed. Rescuers managed to pass him a two-way radio, some water, and food paste in a syringe. They spoke gently to him. "John, we're here. We're working on it. Just hold on, okay?" He answered with calm. "Tell Emily I love her. I'm not giving up." It wasn't bravado. It was faith. Outside, his family gathered in prayer. Inside, 137 rescuers worked through the night. They set up a complex rope and pulley system, attaching it to a series of carabiners and anchors drilled into the cave walls. Hours passed. Everyone was exhausted, covered in clay and sweat. Then, after nearly 20 hours, a breakthrough, they managed to pull John upward a few feet. Cheers echoed in the tunnel. But as they reset the ropes for the final lift, a bolt failed. The pulley system snapped. John slid back into the crevice. His body jerked violently. The rope recoiled. There was screaming. It was the beginning of the end. By now, it was nearly 24 hours since John had first gotten stuck. His breathing was shallow. His heart was failing. The rescuers regrouped, tried again, but time was running out. "I'm slipping," John whispered. "I can't feel my legs." His voice was weak. The radio crackled. Rescuers cried. These were professionals, strong, trained, composed. But there was something profoundly human and helpless about seeing a man die in front of you, one you were trying to save. At 11:56 p.m., on November 25, 2009, John Edward Jones was pronounced dead from cardiac arrest brought on by the stress of his position. He had been trapped for 27 hours. The grief was overwhelming. His father sobbed as he was led out of the cave. Emily, pregnant and waiting at home, received the news with unimaginable heartbreak. Rescue crews tried to recover John's body. But after hours of dangerous effort, they realized the truth: bringing him out might cost more lives. A decision was made. Nutty Putty Cave would be closed permanently. His family agreed. It was no longer just a cave, it was John's grave. Explosives were used to collapse the surrounding passageways. Concrete was poured into every entrance. The earth sealed itself around him. A memorial now marks the spot near the former cave entrance. A cross stands among desert brush, with a plaque honoring a man who was brave, loving, faithful. John's story spread far beyond Utah. It became a cautionary tale, a documentary, a film, The Last Descent, a symbol of the risks and fragility of human life in nature's depths. But for those who knew him, John Edward Jones was more than a story. He was a son, a brother, a husband, a father. He was a man who loved God, who loved his family, and who remained brave, even in his final hour. His body remains in Nutty Putty Cave. But his legacy, his courage, and his quiet strength echo far beyond those cold stone walls, etched into memory, written in the hearts of those who carry his name forward. And that's today's case, the tragic story of John Edward Jones and the cave that became his final resting place. Nutty Putty Cave now stands sealed forever, a silent monument to both human curiosity and the unforgiving power of nature. What was once a place of thrill and challenge is now a grave, carrying the memory of a young father who never made it back to the surface. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss future deep dives like this one. And let me know in the comments, do you think the cave should have stayed open? Could this tragedy have been prevented? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe, stay curious, and take care of each other. Until next time.